How are you doing? My name is Lars Christensen, and this is the 10th episode of Ask LarsLive. This is the Sunday edition. That means that I'm just going to sit down here and go through a bunch of my emails and hopefully add some Fusion 360 value to you. If you like this, thumbs up. If you don't, that's okay. Thumbs down. And as always, I love your comments. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I would truly appreciate it. Hit that little bell so you get the notifications. This just would mean the world to me. Jump into this. Now, the first one is not email. The first one is actually from Facebook Messenger. Now, I'm not too good at all the Messenger stuff, but this one was from Kenny, and I thought it was pretty good. So let's just jump in here and take a look at this. Kenny actually sent me a image. So Kenny works for the city of Detroit. I'm actually going there in a few weeks, so I thought this was very fitting. This is like sewage, water, or something. And Kenny's question is, how do you, if you got to model up this lid, Kenny have figured out how to put in all the bolts, but how to put in like this, the web here to add strength. I have another image of it here, like these webs. How do you model those in? So they are in there. So you can kind of see they clear the bolts, goes through there, but then they're coming in here. So let's let me show you the dirty way to do that, Kenny. So Kenny tells me, so this is Detroit, so we're gonna switch units. Let's go in here, switch over to inches, and Kenny told me that this one is about 72 inches in diameter. So I'm gonna open a new sketch. C for circle. And let's throw in 72, hit enter, and that's a pretty big lid. Q for press pull, right? And let's add some thickness in there. Let's make it 5 inches. Now to create this web, I think this maybe is the best image that shows it. In here, I would actually take what I like to call the manufacturing approach. And what I mean by the manufacturing approach is to kind of work it the same way as you would do it if you had to make it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here, open a new sketch on that top face. I'm going to hit alpha line or select line up here, whatever you feel comfortable with, and draw a vertical line up that snaps to the edge of our circle here. 2-point rectangle. Make sure on the left side that it snaps to this edge, and scroll down, make sure it snaps down to this edge here. Now I can use my favorite constraint, the symmetry constraint. So this point to this point with this line, and that's now going to make sure that these are it's going to stay in the center. D for dimension. Let's give this some kind of a width, and I'm not quite sure how wide these are. Maybe they are 3 inches wide. I'm not 100% sure. Whatever. I'm going to hit Q for press pull, and let's make another one of these. Let's make it 3 inches. Maybe this is a bit taller. Let's make it 5 inches tall too. So now we have kind of this crossbar here. Now I'm gonna do, so like I said before, Kenny have already figured out how to do the bolt pattern with a pattern. I'm gonna do the same thing with these. I'm gonna go to circular pattern, not phases. I'm gonna be lazy and select feature because I have that feature right down there. And I am going to rotate around the center there. And then if I go in and make it an angle of 180, then I can actually go in here and do 5 of these, hit OK. And that means that we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if I click on this image and Kenny's image, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we got the right amount in there. Now, but here's the thing, Kenny, when we look at it now, this is how, you could have taken and placed these and welded them on. Now you got to get that curve. And the way I would get this curve is I would actually cut it away. So, you put it up on a big lathe maybe and start cutting it away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a new sketch. And I'm going to open up on this plane, the vertical plane in here. Now, if you can't select something, remember, if you hold down your left mouse button, this little menu comes up and you can hover over and then you can select it here. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm actually going to borrow these edges for a second. So I'm going to hit P And I'm going to select these areas here. P for project, so I'll make sure I get these areas. And let's start out by drawing a line up from. Actually, I probably want to hit P for project and actually make sure I get this line here too. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit alpha line, and I'm going to draw. I'm actually going to draw a. I don't know if I need this, but I'm going to draw a line out here. I probably don't need this one now where I projected that edge. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to select an arc, and I'm going to select the 3-point arc here, and I am going to select the midpoint, and then I'm going to select down on this line down here, somewhere where between the edge and where my bolts is going to end. So I'm going to do it around here, and that gives me a 3-point arc. Now I'm just going to place this 3-point arc right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that it's tangent with that line I just created. Boom. So now it's tangent there. Now, if I get out of this by hitting escape and get my white cursor back, you can see how we can move that. It's kind of stuck on that line. So now you, of course, want to do something like D for dimension and place a dimension from here to this edge and do that, whatever you need there. Now, so that was why I created that line there, was to make sure I get a tangency on here. And now what I really just will do is hit alpha line, and I will draw a line from that endpoint out to about here. Let's go up vertical somewhere, come over about vertical to that line there, and down to there. And I would actually, doing something like this, it is best practices to make sure that things are fully defined. That is always the best thing. So I'm just going to do that. But what I'm going to do now, if we just go at an angle here, is I'm going to hit, go back to the solid tool, I'm going to do a revolve. So I'm going to revolve this section and this section, right? See, there's our arc there. And I'm going to revolve that around the center line. And it could be the center line of this. It could be the center line of this. Doesn't really matter. But that's going to create a cut. And now we end up having that cross there that you see on the picture created in there. We'll click on this one here too. You can kind of see where all these meets, and that is now what we have created in here with that cut. I hope that was useful, Kenny. That is how I'll create that. Then of course the bolts in there to get that lid there. But super cool. I think it was a super cool little example on how you can do something like this. So that manufacturing methods of actually doing all your extrudes first and then do all your cuts. That's how you would normally do something too if you were going to manufacture something. So I hope that was useful, Kenny, for you. And I will be in Detroit in a few weeks. So that should be good. Get that all fixed up till I get there. I'm just kidding. Hope this was useful. Thumbs up if you like it. Thumbs down if you don't. That's okay. This is just me in an attempt to add a little bit more value to your Fusion 360 experience. Forgot the number for a second. Hope that was useful. All right.